I have some amazing news for my fans. Going forward, I've decided to invite guest speakers on my podcast to talk about various topics and help answer your skincare and beauty questions. I love talking to other professionals in the industry to stay up to date on the latest beauty news and skincare trends. One of the most popular questions I get asked is about how skincare and beauty products work. So I thought it would be beneficial to invite experts on the show who can help answer these questions. Today, I have a guest speaker who works at a popular skincare and beauty products retailer. She will join me to talk about what it's like working in the retail environment selling skincare and beauty products. She will share some great tips on how to sell skincare without being salesy. If you are working in the beauty industry or have thought about entering the industry and were wondering what it's like, you will find this episode really interesting. This interview is recorded over 2 episodes. In part 1, we talk about what it's like and her experience working in the retail space. And in part 2, we dig deeper into the topic of why people should use skincare products. We discuss some of the essentials of a good skincare routine and how to recommend products. I hope you find the stories we share interesting and fun. Welcome to the Skincare Teacher Beauty Tips Show, brought to you by skincareschoolonline.com. In this show, you will discover skincare and beauty tips that absolutely work. I'm Olivia Elston, a qualified beauty therapist, skincare educator and blogger, and in this show, I will share my expert insights into the best beauty treatments that will transform your skin. Tune in each week to learn about how to look after your skin and manage skin conditions, including a sensitized skin, acne, aging, or pigmentation. Hello, everybody. I'm really excited to have my very first guest on my podcast, my daughter, Olivia Elston. We are like 2 peas in a pod and we absolutely love skincare and beauty. And often we have conversations after work about our day, about the people we've met, about products we've recommended and questions we talk about. So it's been really fun. So everybody meet Olivia. Hi, Olivia.
Hello, nice to meet everyone, and thank you for having me on.
Thank you for coming along. Olivia has been working several jobs since even before you finished school, really. You went into retail, what are you in year 10?
Well, I started at Macca's.
Yes.
So kind of hospitality, fast food really.
That's right. And then you progressed into retail and now you work in skincare and beauty in the retail area, which is fantastic. And you also have your own podcast.
Yes, I do. It's called Heavenly Feminine. It's all about just femininity and really learning about yourself. I love learning about other people. I think I got it off of you. We love to be active listeners, but we also love to talk. So sharing stories and connecting and festering with people is like such a passion of mine. And I talk to so many people and go, dude, that's an awesome story. Like, more people need to hear your story. So I decided to create that platform to share that, kind of like you.
Thank you. I've started a podcast and I've been writing blogs for years, probably a decade now, because I have a passion for teaching and educating. Whereas you come from a slightly different perspective. You love to share stories. And I think that's why I love listening to your podcast. And it is about real life stories, about what people experience and how they've overcome some of the real difficult things that they have gone through. And I would really encourage everybody to listen to Olivia's podcast. You will find it interesting and you will find it eye-opening in many cases and educational, because you always finish off with your podcast with a takeaway, don't you?
Yes, I do. I love that because some people have awesome takeaways, like something that helps them get through life or has been something that like a hurdle they crossed over, and it's something that just stands out for them. And I love that. I think it's so cool.
Yes, yeah. And the lessons people can learn from others who have gone through the thing. I suppose you interview people who have gone through something and then they're inspired to share their story so that they can help others going through the same thing.
Exactly, because I've talked to like artists and people who love music, and for some of them, they don't really delve into so much of as a difficulty in their life, but they just talk about their creations and their passions and the mission that they have. And with you, it's all about skincare and actually having that passion to empower women and men and everyone, all of our non-binaries, to love their own skin and learn how to actually care for it.
So I brought you on the podcast today to talk about your experience in the beauty industry, in the selling skincare and makeup, and you, particularly in the retail environment, which can be really fast-paced. So I will start off by asking you, how long have you been interested in beauty and skincare?
It's a really good question, and funnily enough, I did mention it in the episode we recorded together for my podcast, whichever one you can go listen to, that I kind of felt like I innately started loving it because I was grown up in this environment where both of my parents came from a skincare background, and I was already learning about all of these things. The biggest part, though, would have had to be when I started to get, I guess, really conscious of myself. When I was around the age of like 11, 12, 13, I'd started to get really cystic acne. I became very, very self-conscious of my skin, and I was like, Mum, help me. And that was really where it all began for skin in particular. But I will have to say, I didn't necessarily question anything. I wasn't very inquisitive. Like, you will say, here, take this product, and you'll educate me about it, but the only thing I'd remember is what I need to do and like how to use it. I won't actually remember the benefits of it or what this product actually does. I just remember, use it in the shower or use it every night or whatever it is. So it wasn't then again until I went on a trip to China for a missions trip in school. And that was in, I think, 2018 or 17, one of those years. And over there, all the girls were buying those like cheap dupe makeup, like eyeshadow kits and stuff. And I was like, oh my God, I want to get stuff like that. So I started getting into the makeup area by then. Then I had, in year 10, I had to do work experience. And I was at a school doing bilingual teaching. So that's when you took me and got me color matched to a foundation so I could wear it for work. Because again, I still had cystic acne and I needed to kind of cover up that redness, and we're in that professional environment. Now, funnily enough, I'm working at Mecca. I think the youngest person I served regarding makeup or skincare was an 8-year-old. And they said they saw, to use an eyebrow gel to brush your eyebrows into place and look neater. And, to use a nice like wash. So there's like a specific wash that they really wanted to cleanse their face at night. And in the morning. And yeah, and I was like, they're 8 years old. Like that is, it is crazy. So it does definitely go very young. And still, I get even more mature people from, when I say mature, I could say more in their 20s, coming, and they might go, I've saw this. I want to try it out. Some people have no idea what it is, or they've never experienced like that type of skincare or makeup before. Some people have tried so many and they just want to try this new one. And then sometimes it's even people who might be like in their 50s or 60s coming in looking for some guidance, because they always like to tell me, because I'm only 20 years old myself. They always like to tell me, back in my days, like, we didn't have all of this, and it's changed. So I just want some guidance to learn about what's new and what's good for me.
Speaking of back in my days, as an 8-year-old, I can't remember myself, any of my friends, ever being interested in makeup, beauty. It was just wasn't on our radar. We wanted to play. We played outside. We wanted to be with friends. Beauty wasn't a big thing with us. Girls started to really think about makeup until they were maybe 14, 16, definitely.
Yeah.
I think I was 16 when I first started dabbling in makeup myself. So it's almost like the kids are influenced, I think, because being on Instagram, being on TikTok, you see makeup tutorials, you have all the influencers selling the amazing lifestyle that they have, and everybody wants a bit of that. So they feel like if they're going to use what they're using, then they might have a little bit of that lifestyle.
Yeah, well,
So-
that's it. I'm trying always never look at it from a point of view where, because sometimes I've come across people who are a bit more older than me and they can judge me for wanting those things and think I'm being materialistic or that I'm striving for things that are unrealistic, and they'll put me down for that, saying like, you know, like, that's all fake, you shouldn't be going for that, like, that's too much makeup or this or that. And they have a lot of, like, I don't know about hatred, but they have
Resistance.
a lot of, and like distaste for it. And so whenever I see a young girl coming in, the way I talk to them, I always try and make it sure that I'm speaking in a way that this is for you, to make you feel good. It's not that you need it to elevate your appearance. You're a freaking 8-year-old. But like, you know, if you want to brush your eyebrows into place, go ahead and brush your eyebrows into place. Like, who am I to judge? Like, if you're aware of that and you wanted to do that, that's okay. But the only thing, I have been scared if any of them are going, oh, I don't look like her. Is there something wrong with me? That's what I'm always afraid about.
Yes, peer pressure. And like you said, your friends were shopping when you were in China. So you want, and I remember the makeup you came back with, and I go, oh, that's pretty. And I was surprised because you were not into that sort of thing before you went. So it's interesting how friends can influence you. And you do tell me often that, you know, we've had a busy day and we're selling such and such product. I go, why is that product popular? And you say, well, you know, some influencer went out there and started talking about it, and then we sold out. And
oh my gosh,
so the influencers play a big part, don't they, in driving those people to find those products in the store.
100%. And honestly, it extends over this part of the retail industry, so in beauty, makeup, skincare, because I even remember my previous job before Mecca was being a manager of an international candy store. When I say international, it was mainly just American candy, because us in Australia don't really have access to it. And there would be one of the Kardashians, I think it was Kylie, but I don't know, one of them started eating these gummies. It's called nerd gummy clusters. You remember the nerds?
Yes.
Yeah, and so it was like basically like a gummy worm, and it's covered in nerd gummy, like the nerd.
Yes.
Anyways, and oh my god, as soon as like everyone saw her eating them, everyone has to get them. And because people know like there's an international candy store local, but I had people drive all the way, I don't remember the suburb, but like 2 hours.
2 hours
to
away.
get to my store and get the nerd gummy clusters, and we would sell out of them just like that. Like it was absolutely insane. So it definitely does. It's just a thing. Influencers influence.
They do. Retail is such an interesting environment to work in. I primarily deal with the beauty salons and spas where people come in for treatments, but they do retail as well.
Yeah.
But it's a different environment, not so heavily influenced, I suppose, by influencers. So it's an interesting retail environment you're working in. You get exposed to lots of product. Like I said, I work in beauty salon spas. Generally, they will be exposed to one product, as in the people who work there. They will need to know a brand really well, maybe 2, maybe 3, some cases more. But you have to know so many brands.
Yeah.
How many brands do you think you would be in the retail space you work in?
Oh my god, I don't even know.
Like 100?
So like a lot. Like there's quite a lot, and especially because depending on the Mecca store you go to, like if you go to the Mecca in Sydney on George Street, it's what they call the Mecca House.
Yes.
And I think it's their only one so far that they've done, and it's 3 levels of Mecca. So the bottom level is skincare, the middle level is makeup, and the top level is all fragrance. And so if you imagine there, like there's so many brands, and that's not even the end of it, because there's online only products as well.
Yes.
So like it is endless. And starting off at Mecca, I had to just learn the basics, And now that I'm learning to specialize in skin, I've decided to pipeline to become a skin specialist. I'm undergoing training and stuff at the moment. I now have to learn way more about the skin ranges in particular.
Yes.
And their benefits and stuff, and, you know, what ones do better. Yeah, so, oh my God, there's a lot.
Look, I was really, really surprised how much training is available to you. A lot of it is, some of it is prerequisite, you have to do it to work, and a lot of it is free, isn't it, that you do it if you're interested. So you've got the access to this training portal. And the training, I mean, some of the questions that you come back to me and go, you're learning about that?
Yeah.
That's what beauty therapists learn about. Really impressed by the training that they provide. And then, of course, you've got access to all the different brands you work with, that they provide training to the people who work there as well. So there must be a real challenge learning all the different products. So if you have somebody come in and say, I need something for my skin, how do you choose from all the different 100 different brands?
Yeah, well, honestly, it does come from me learning through all of those courses that I'm given and through my peers, from listening in or being actually told by like my manager, like, oh, this is a good one, or by another skincare specialist or something like that.
Right.
But of course, you will understand, being in the industry yourself, I've learned that if someone comes in and just says, hey, I need a moisturizer, I need to become really investigative. I need to become, you know, the Sherlock, and I just need to become curious. That's one of Mecca values, that one of their C's in Mecca stands for curious, and we want to be curious about the customer. So we need to say, okay, what does your skin routine look like at the moment? Do you have any skin sensitives? Do you have any allergies? What's your skin type? Like, we have all of these questions because that is what helps me narrow down. Like, at the moment, if you said you have like sensitive skin typically also requires a bit more hydration, because the skin barrier is usually a bit depleted. But you know, if there's someone who has really dehydrated skin, I have my go-to things. Right. Anyways, I'm rambling on, but yeah, I have kind of my go-tos for skin types and also skin concerns as well.
Right.
Yeah,
so you just basically, the takeaway here is, and I would like the beauty therapists to really listen to this, because beauty therapists are sometimes reluctant to recommend products because they don't want to be salesy, right?
Yeah.
But I love what you said, that you're inquisitive and inquiring and curious, right? Yeah. If you invest yourself in that client, if you're talking to the client, then you're asking them lots and lots of questions, right? And if you ask them the questions, you kind of start building rapport with a client. You know, once you've asked your questions, you determine, you know, what it is that they possibly need, and then you go to your go-to ranges, which you learnt about. And here's another takeaway, is you learned about, not only through your training, but through talking to your colleagues.
Yes.
Talking to other skin specialists. They came in asking, you know, about the sensitive skin. What do you normally recommend? So you're not only learning from training, but you're learning by talking to your colleagues as well.
A lot of, a very common thing at Mecca is we like to ask each other our favorites, or maybe it's just an Olivia thing, I don't know, but like I'll go up to like a random colleague, like if it's a quiet day and one of them's on pause, so they're like at the cashier, and I just see them and I'm walking past to go grab something, I'll go, what's your favorite foundation? And then I'll let them talk about it, and you know, or I'll go, what's your favorite moisturizer? And people love to talk, and so I already get these things that are very like personal, and I'm learning about their skin type, their kind of skin history, and what they find really works for them. So it's kind of like a story of success. Yes. You know, and I even love to talk, like when I'm getting to know some customers, you know, they've tried products before, like let's say they have a really good cleanser that changed their life, but they're just looking for a new moisturizer. They'll talk to me about that cleanser. So again, in my mind, I'm starting to store that information away. And I love that you also did mention about building rapport with the customer, because like I mentioned in the episode we recorded together about being transparent, and I don't always know everything. So being able to like hear their story, ask all the questions I can get, and realize, okay, I have an idea of something, I'm not too sure, I'm going to go ask a coworker And sometimes what I can do is what we call shadow. Like if we're not too busy, if there's a skin specialist on board or whatnot, or someone who knows how to help, they'll come and I shadow them. So I watch them deal with the customer and walk through, and I'll hear how they talk about what they recommend, and I can take that on board. If it's too busy, I'll go serve another customer while they take on them. And then afterwards, like, we go in the back room and they kind of update me on what they ended up recommending and why. And
so it's constant learning, really, isn't it?
Yeah. Just like you say, you're always learning in this business. It is definitely something where you're always learning.
Yeah, absolutely. It sounds like you really love what you do. Can you remember any particular examples of where you helped somebody and they were and made you feel really, really good at the end?
Okay, I can think of one. There was a lady who came in and she had massive blue eyes, like really bright blue eyes. I just remember it was beautiful. And she's a mature lady as well. She came in with her daughter, who was also like a grown adult. And they came in looking for a mascara. And the mom, she was saying that her eyes are really sensitive. She says, I've tried so many mascaras and they just don't work for me. Like, my eyes get really irritated. And so she was specifically looking for just a nice mascara. She was like, I'm not too concerned if it's more lengthening or voluminous. I just want something that works with my eyes. So I said, okay, I actually have never been asked that before. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to go talk to a coworker, and I'm also going to jump on our website and look at what hypoallergenic?
Yes. Hypoallergenic, yeah. You said it the first time.
Okay, cool. It didn't feel right. And I was looking up those, what mascaras we have in that category on our website to also back it up and just to read through the ingredients, read through the comments. So this consult was a bit longer than usual because I was doing all my research to make sure that I was recommending something that should work. And we came across one, and she ended up trying that one out. And she decided, like, I told her all the benefits, what I've been told, how I think it's a good one for her. And she said, amazing, I'll take that one. She ended up coming back a couple times, and she always came and found me. And that ended up working. She said it's beautiful. It doesn't irritate her at all. And I ended up being able to recommend her a BB cream as well. Built up this rapport with her where she just comes back and she talks to me, and I know her history already. So we kind of have a talk about how were the products before. And because I recommend that BB cream all the time, I like to tell people how much I love it. I'm like, but if for any reason it's not working for your skin, please let me know. Because I want to know, like, if this one didn't work for you, and I want to find something that, I want to find an alternative for people who find this product doesn't work for them, because not everyone's the same. So that was a really big high for me, because it was something that I honestly felt really nervous about at first, especially for someone who is has quite sensitive eyes. I don't want to irritate them. I don't want to be the person to recommend something that will hurt them. So that was a really good one for me.
Oh, fabulous. You do often come back with some fabulous stories, but sometimes you come back with some sad stories as well. So there are lots of perks, and it's you really enjoy what you do. But sometimes you come across a situation that makes you sad.
Yeah.
Makes you sad and makes you reflect on it. So I wanted to ask you, what are some of the challenges or some of the situations you come across that you find challenging working with people and in retail in general?
I would say the most challenges that I've had do actually stem from skincare, and they stem from not understanding why their skin, especially on the face, is doing what it's doing. And there was one girl that I had. This was when I worked at the Parramatta store, and so it was a much bigger store. It was super busy. We had a wait list going. It was so busy. Eventually, I was introduced to this girl, and she looked maybe 11 or 12, and she had her brother with, a big brother, a big sister, a mum, a dad, a little brother. There was the whole family. And already I was a bit intimidated, but they were saying, we just want to find her a foundation to cover up her pigmentation issues, and she had really cystic acne, and she was so young. And I literally, it was like a mirror, because again, I was there when I was her age, and she didn't understand. And the way her family was talking, I don't know if it was culture wise, because they all spoke very loud, and they ended up speaking in their native language to each other when they weren't speaking directly to me, but they were speaking very harshly. And I got a foundation that I thought would work for her. But of course, if you have textured skin, foundation can't get rid of the texture. You know, nothing can get rid of the texture except for actually treating it. And the family, the mum and the older sister in particular, turned to me and they started yelling at me. And I, like, at the time, I took it very to heart, but I think it was just a projection of confusion. They started yelling at me saying, like, why are you doing this to her skin? Why does her skin look like that? Why are there bumps all over her face? Look, the bumps aren't there when you wipe it off. It's just red. But you put this on, you even out the skin tone, and now they have lumps and bumps everywhere. And the way they were talking was very, very negative. And like I said, very harsh and it's scary. It was scary.
In front of the little girl as well.
Yeah, because she was standing there. I was the one putting it on her face. And they were just yelling. And she had her head hung low looking at the floor. And there was a time when I went to go get a different shade to try. Or I think it was a different foundation. They got me to try 2 because, again, they thought it was the foundation creating the texture. And so I asked her to kind of come with me so I could talk to her about it. And her family were following, but I tried to like create a little bubble with us and just tell her, hey, I want to let you know that what's happening to your skin is unfortunately normal. It is acne. Like, there's things you can do, and there is texture, and foundation won't take that away, but it is okay. Like, you will be, I have acne. I'm like, you may not be able to see it fully because I also have foundation on and a lot of my texture's reduced, but I've literally been where you've been. And she just kept looking at the floor. I don't know if she did really hear me, if she was listening. I feel like she was swimming in her own head with her own thoughts. But they ended up, I tried the second foundation and they ended up, again, just yelling at me saying, nah, like, what, you're like ruining her face. And they stormed out of the store. And so that was a really hard one. And another one that I've heard from one of my co-workers was a boy who came in who I think they said he was around like 15 years old and had severe eczema, like really severe eczema over his body, over his face. And a mum dragged him in and found a skincare specialist and said, fix him. What's wrong with him? What's wrong with my little boy? You need to fix him. Like, there's something wrong with him. And all they could do at that time, they said, like, they had to recommend them to go see a dermatologist, a skin doctor, because they could only recommend them things that could maybe provide temporary relief.
Yes.
But nothing that will heal. And to try and tell him as well, there's nothing wrong with you.
Yeah.
Like, there's nothing wrong with you. You have a skin condition. So those, I would say, would be the most disheartening stories. And the main learning thing I've gotten out of it is just to learn how you speak in front of people with skin conditions. Especially if you're concerned, you're going, they have some bumps on their face or they have some red patches. And instead of say, what's wrong with you? Try and just reflect and say, okay, something obviously isn't right. Let's, go hand in hand and investigate together, but like calmly.
Be kind and think about what you're saying.
Yeah.
And the hurtful things that I know it comes from a place of frustration probably, and they really love and care the child, and then they're not consciously aware of the words they're using, that how it could impact on their self-esteem.
Yeah.
You've gone through, as you said, through acne, and I remember as a mum and as a beauty therapist, we went through such a journey trying to help you, and it was frustrating for me because, we get somewhere, then it'll come back, then we get somewhere, then it'll come back. I tried to be mindful to keep your positivity up and to keep your confidence up, and it is hard, but I suppose the takeaway is, just be careful how you speak around people with skin conditions, because they already feel terrible about it.
Like they already
Anyway,
know that they
they
have
already
a skin
know.
condition.
Nobody else needs to tell.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it is true, because I remember there was a significant role model in my life who, especially again at that really young age when I had acne and it kept getting worse and worse, and they would come and they'd grab my chin and they'd say, "What are you doing? What are you doing to your face?" Because they started blaming that it was the food I ate and stuff. And that's when I did end up cutting back on like gluten and lactose, and that's a whole other story. But they kind of shamed me for having a juice box for lunch at school when I was a kid. I just wanted a juice box. Or for having, like, whatever it may be. They just started saying it's your fault. And so then I felt like even when I'd gotten to the stage of doing everything I can to fix my skin and it wasn't working, I still felt like it was my fault. And I just don't think anyone deserves that, because of course there's nothing you're doing.
Yeah. In a lot of cases, it is internal, particularly with acne and eczema. They are internal inflammatory skin conditions. Really do require some extra help by specialists, dermatologists, naturopaths, dietitians, because it is something that's coming from inside. We can certainly help, like you said, relieve the condition on the top and help promote healing of the skin. But if that inflammation keeps coming in from the inside, it's like fighting a never-ending fire. Really, the fire keeps just there are challenges, and I think in any retail situation you have the good times, and then you have the challenging customers. Even when you were working McDonald's and at the Lollies shop as well, you used to come home with stories about rude customers and people yelling at you, and I just can't understand that. I can't understand how people can be mean to others, especially when you don't know them, you're out in the public. So be kind, people. Be kind to these people, because they're just doing a job, really. So you had a question for me. Was it last week, the week before? You asked me a question when you came home from work, and then we ended up having a really lengthy discussion, and then I said, you know what, this would make such a fantastic topic for a podcast. So tell the listeners, what was your question? What did you come across that really stumped you?
So the question was, what's the point of skincare? Why do you do skincare? And a little backstory to it was, I had a university friend. I took them to Mecca to help them do a foundation match and get a little tester pot, because we had a theatre production coming up and they didn't have any. They said they've never delved into makeup or skincare, nothing like that. Like, it's just not something of importance to them or of interest. And so as we were like talking while I was doing her foundation, getting the match, I told her how I was becoming a skin specialist and delving into that and loving it. And then that's when she asked me, she just went, "So can I ask you, what is the point of doing your skincare routine? Like, of having skincare? What's the point of cleansing and moisturizing and sunscreen?" And I went, I was like, I don't know how to answer that, because to me, like, if you were to ask me, is it important to do your skincare? I would say undoubtedly yes. But when it comes to why, I would say, I actually don't really know. So I came and asked you, I'm like, how would you respond to that? Because I started stuttering to her, being like, just because it's good to look after your skin. And I felt like such a doof. So yeah, I wanted to know why do skincare, Mum?
Thank you for listening. If you found this information valuable, please share this podcast with your friends and family and spread the word. In this interview, we covered several topics, including what it's like working in the retail environment and dealing with people with skincare concerns. There were some great takeaways in this episode, and I have taken the notes for you. See my blog. Visit my website at janaelston.com to learn more. And if you want to receive an email when the episodes are available for download, sign up for my newsletter on my website. In part 2, we go deeper into the topic of why people should use skincare products. We discuss some of the essentials of a good skincare routine and how to take care of your skin, along with sharing some great tips. I look forward to bringing this episode to you in a few weeks. Be sure to subscribe to this podcast or follow me on Instagram at Olivia Elston to be notified when the episode is released.
Thank you for listening. I hope you enjoyed this episode. Be sure to subscribe to this podcast and tune in each week for the latest beauty news and trends. If you have any comments or questions, you can connect with me on my Facebook group, Skincare Teacher Beauty Tips. You will find a link in my show notes. Until next time, have a beautiful week.